the last couple days has been intensely garden focused. Some other exciting things have happened as well, but I've not picked up the camera. It's 2 days I haven't picked up the camera. I have been so focused on getting the garden in, and now I am finally taking the time to pick the camera up and show you guys. You will see me shoot lots of videos this time of day because the golden hour in my garden is quite possibly my favorite time and place in the entire world. I absolutely love being out here about an hour and a half before sunset. So these are my leftover plants from the plant sale. There's quite a lot left, as you can see. I still have to plant an entire row in my garden, which will be about 30-ish plants, maybe 35, I'm not entirely sure. It's the 2 beds that I'm planting tomatoes in for the first time this year. So I'm not 100% sure how many are gonna go in there, but around 35 plants or so. So a lot of those will go to that. I kind of goofed today, and I brought these basils out. I didn't realize how dry they were yesterday, and I left them out here, and they got way too dry. I may have killed that stuff, which that does happen. I always have to make sure that I show you guys whenever I screw up and kill something, because I wouldn't want you harboring any delusions that doesn't happen to somebody who even knows what they're doing. So this has been one of Sweet Maya's projects the last couple of days. I built this arbor around the garden entrance, and today I found these beautiful climbing roses, which I planted here, and they're supposed to get up to 8 feet tall, so they should go up and over the top of this arbor. And they are a beautiful tangerine, kind of got some darker color on there, so I think they're gonna look really good with the door here. Hey, Sweet Maya. He did a good job on this.
Yep, I did.
So humble.
Always.
So as you can see here, we've got landscape paper as well as lots of repurposed cardboard going in, and mulch going down here on our rows. I've been reseeding the things that have not come up yet, putting in plants. I got all these tomatoes planted. This is Ben. I say hi, Ben. Ben's out here helping us in the garden, and we noted that we have a lot of Bens in our life. Isn't that interesting? We keep meeting new Bens and making new Ben friends, but Ben's super nice, and he's out here. He's a local college student, and contacted us about coming out and helping on the farm and learning about what we're doing, and we were super grateful for the help. I know many of you have noticed the fact that we have got a ton to do, so we're so grateful for his help, and hopefully are imparting some knowledge to him about this life that we love living, that he is really interested in living. So again, here are the tomatoes kind of from a different angle. You can see, you'll notice that they're pretty close together, about 18 inches or so. And that is close, but we do prune. I prune them down to about 1 main stalk. Some people do square foot gardening. They do them 12 inches apart, and some of these may be close to that, but I kind of aimed for 18 inches. Some are probably a little bit further. I don't know. I didn't measure it whenever I put them in. I can't be that exact. It's just against my nature. They're looking pretty good. It was a really bright and hot day, so it's kind of a rough first day for a little plant, but they're gonna pull through just fine. They're just going through the process of being transplanted. Sometimes when you transplant a plant, they'll look a little puny at first, but then they, you know, pop back up. As I have been putting these in, I have just been imagining how wonderful it's going to be to shoot garden tours showing you guys these different plants and showing you the fruit as I get to pick them. This will change so much in the next month. In a few weeks, they will have reached the trellis. After that, they'll start setting fruit. We'll probably be picking fruit off of these plants around the 2nd week of June. that's about whenever we really start getting fruit. Maybe the 3rd week, the smaller tomatoes will come right first. As requested, I am putting out a video this week on how to plant tomatoes. You guys asked me for that. Most of these I have planted without shooting that video, but I've still got 1 row to plant. I'll probably shoot that in the morning as long as the weather's nice. I've also got to get my competition plant in the ground tomorrow to share with you guys. I am joining in a tomato grow off with Callie, Kim, and Gary at the Rustic Garden. I'm so excited, I'm so nervous. I am not a competition person at all, but I've got my red beefsteak, I've got my climbing triple crop, which is the one that I'm going to be entering with, and they're going in the garden in the morning, so I'll be filming that as well. Now, I don't think I've shown y'all this yet. We got the trellises up. Gosh, we've gotten so much done the last couple days. I've not made any videos. So we got this trellis in and this one. Kind of moved things around here. So this is all open. We finished out this row with the trellis for our cherry tomatoes, and then here I put up a little teepee trellis. This is for cucamelons. I've got cucamelons, which are also called Mexican sour gherkins, planted on that. This made the garden feel so different to me. I don't know what it was about that. Just as soon as we moved the trellises, it was a new garden year for me. I don't know, that might be kind of weird, but like since I've been working in the garden this spring, everything felt the same. Like it felt like the same layout as last year. I kept finding myself wanting to plant everything in the same exact place, but shifting these few things around, it was like, oh my gosh, it's a new year. It's a fresh slate. So got these ready to go. And so this is where I still have to plant tomatoes, is all along that row. I successfully planted the trellises. Almost all of them are planted, so that's exciting. I've got different melons. Like these are Armenian white cucumbers back here. I'm trying to watch really closely for the things that I've seeded, and some of the things we seeded kind of early. If they don't come up, I'm reseeding them because I just want everything to be coming in at the same time. But I've got most of the trellises done, and what I've been working on this afternoon is really figuring out where my flowers are gonna be. Zinnias specifically. I'm actually putting some dahlias in some of the beds, some sunflowers, calendula, I've got some of that. Nasturtiums are all going in, borage is going in. And so I'm sort of putting those in first, and then filling in around them with the vegetables. The tomatoes went first, the trellises went next, and then the flowers. And then everything else will go in around those. For me, the flowers add so much structure and color, and I wanna make sure things are balanced. Like I don't wanna put just a whole bunch of red flowers in one space and then everything else be multicolored. So I'm kind of trying to keep that in mind, and it's a little easier for me to layer this in. I don't know if that makes sense. I have no idea what I'm talking about. I would use like professional terms if I had them, but that's how it works in my mind, so that's how you get it. Back here in the corner, of course, we got the peppermint lemon balm and then the garlic. And then this bed, I actually did some teddy bear sunflowers that are like these big double-headed, floofy, 3 feet tall sunflowers here. And then in front of it, some beans. But like I'm keeping in mind the fact that I'm gonna have some height and some color right here, and sort of filling in this general area with that as the anchor. It makes sense to me, so hopefully you're tracking. Love to get y'all's opinion here. So that's the sunflowers right there, the smaller sunflowers, and that's a squash. And then these are like a red cactus zinnia, which is like a big, very interesting looking flower, and I'm hoping they'll kind of fill in this half of the bed. I need to put something behind it that is a little taller. Those I haven't put in yet because I'm not sure on that. Down here, another cactus, and what I really want right here is something very eye-catching. This section of the garden was my absolute favorite part of the garden last year. Now I do that every year. I'll have one area that I will pack with my favorites. I'll end up babying it all year. I'll love it. The year before this, it was over in that front corner, was kind of my favorite space. But This year I'm trying to be really intentional to make every space in the garden that awesome. I'm trying to make sure that I fill in all the corners, that I don't have any blank spaces, that I do spread the flowers out, that it's all dynamic. I'm being more intentional than I ever have before. So I would love some opinions on this, like what you think. Basically, this is going to be right here next to the pavilion, so it's something we're gonna see a lot. This entire wall of trellises will be covered in cherry tomatoes. They fill out really nicely. And of course, this wall of trellises will be covered in big tomatoes. On the inside of this wall, we'll have quite a lot of peppers, eggplants, possibly some like bush beans, maybe some greens. I think most of, like, if I'm gonna do any lettuce, they'll probably be in the back where it's gonna be more shaded. I'm really doing like the sun-loving stuff here. I'm gonna do one section of flowers right in here, probably some zinnias. So here, I'm looking at some cucumbers and some melons on these trellises where they're gonna be really full. And I'm thinking of doing possibly some okra down the side, just something that's gonna be really tall and lush, and maybe some pepper plants. I'll fill in the sides of this, but that bed right there, I want it to be really eye-catching. I want it to kind of be a culmination and an end to this space. I'm considering possibly doing amaranth on the far side of that, because it'll be so tall and beautiful, and maybe something on the inside that's going to be a little lower. That's one option. Last year I did a squash plant there and it was gorgeous. It like filled in that whole space. It was huge, it was healthy, it was a golden patty pan squash. I wanted to mix it up. Also, that was the exception. I've never had a squash plant before or since that was as long-lasting and vigorous and huge without getting taken out by squash bugs. So I kind of hate to give that spot to a squash expecting it to do well and then it go, you know, how they normally do and be dead in June. So I'm wanting something maybe a little bit hardier than that. If you have any ideas, let me know, because I would love to know what to put in that bed. Just gonna be big and beautiful and productive. Here on the other side, we had originally seeded some cucumbers, but they have not come up. Those were some of the seeds I put in before the frost came. So I'm thinking of maybe putting some butterfly peas on this trellis. Cucumbers came up on the other side, but I think that I'll just move those and put them on a different trellis. I wanted to do a trellis to those blue butterfly peas that were in Baker Creek's catalog this year. And I think that if I'm gonna do that right here next to the pavilion would be a good place for those, because they're gonna be really beautiful, they're gonna attract a lot of pollinators, and I think that they'll fill this one out really nicely. So I'd rather move the cucumbers that are there over. I also put next to that trellis, I put these long Thai soldier beans, and they're a bush variety, but they're probably gonna need maybe some teepees, like little stakes and stuff. A lot of times those bush varieties will send off some runners. So I filled those in, and I don't know that those are gonna be the best bed mates for cucumbers. Cucumbers are thirsty, and so if you have anything really vigorous growing next to them, sometimes they'll compete. So I think the butterfly peas may be a good partner for those beans. Here in this trellis, it's noodle beans, and so I think we're gonna have, it's just gonna be really dynamic. Beautiful noodle beans, filled out with the butterfly peas, and of course I'll fill in the sides here, framing the sitting pavilion. It's gonna be really nice. And down here, you'll notice that I've got this big open space with no trellises. That's because this is where I'm gonna do a row of okra. See, I've already got some starts there. Some of it I just direct sowed in, which either one works fine. But yeah, okra all the way down here. So it'll be nice and tall. Of course, beautiful flowers. It'll even out the height of this cherry tomato trellis really well. Today, I went to buy the roses and I was like, come with me, let's go together. And we got in there and he was just like, I was like, do you have an opinion? And he's like, baby, you're gonna make it pretty. You're gonna do good. Then he did tell me he didn't think they should be pink roses.
Get the orange and yellow ones. Those will look great. That'll make the pink door look really cool and all that. And then you came home and said, I'm so glad I made a good decision. I said, wait, I thought I made the decision. And you're like, nope, I did. Oh, okay. So
that's how it works, baby.
So it didn't really help at all, like I was saying. Which I'm happy not to help.
I did make a good decision though, for real. So when I last left you guys, Sookie had a kid unexpectedly. We did not know that she was that close. We thought we were gonna definitely have Miriam babies before Sookie babies. The next morning, I went to the plant sale in Conway Saturday morning, and it was lovely. Got to meet lots of our viewers and make new friends, and that was really great. And then we came home, and Miriam had gone ahead and sealed the deal on the fact that I missed every single goat birth on my farm this season. So that is it for us for kidding this spring. We may breed our does, a couple of them, to kid in the fall, but I don't know. I'm not 100% certain that that's something that I want to do. So we ended up with 6 boys and 3 girls. Not great numbers. And of course it's the buck that determines that. So we are probably gonna try a different buck this next year and see how that goes. We did the Sawin this year really just as an experiment. I wanted to get at least one doeling that was going to be a Sawin Nubian mix. So we did at least get that. So we're supposed to be live in like 10 minutes from now. But I'm watching Miriam. I'm going to feed her and see if she's letting them eat, but they look like really skinny. And the little girl is just pooped, and it's still like that first poop, which is still fairly normal, but I would like to see it moving a little faster. Butter's massive, and I'm not 100% sure that she's feeding them. We're gonna try to encourage her to take care of them, but I'm just gonna see. Yeah, she's not letting these kids eat.
All right, well.
Oh. It's farm life. All right.
Sookie's a good mom.
Yeah, it turned out Sookie's a good mom. I was all worried about her.
Well, Mayhem is definitely my favorite. She's a great milker and a good mom. Miriam just is a good milker.
As I was standing in there watching, I noticed the kids were looking kind of skinny, and they're alert, but like I held her earlier to get them to nurse because I didn't think that they looked like they were doing super great. So I've just been watching them, but she kept stepping on them just now, like while I'm watching. She just kept stepping on them over and over, like she was just completely like knocking them all over the place, and that's not a good sign. Usually if a doe cares, like she's very aware of her kids, like she's aware of where they are. She'll step over them, and they might accidentally catch them like occasionally, but for the most part they're very aware. And she was just very unconcerned. They were crying. She was very unconcerned. They were kind of trying to nurse, but whenever we just held her to let them nurse, they were acting like they didn't know what they were doing. And she kept kicking over and over and over. And last year, actually, she had twins that she didn't clean off. Like, she wasn't interested at all. And we tried, and she wouldn't take them. She's a great milker. Her udder is gorgeous. She milks so much, but it looks like she might just not be a very good mom. I hate to leave you guys on that note, but we have to go live, so that's gonna be it for now. God bless y'all. Until next time.